Hey girl, hey, it's your girl Queen ShanShan, and we are on special occasion, special assignment here in Livingston, Montana, and I'm with my friend James Langteaux.
So great to be here.
Thank you for having us.
Wait, I live here.
You live here now. You live here now. We're gonna get all in this, but he opened a brand new cafe here in this very small town, very beautiful, quaint town called Livingston, Montana, and the cafe is called
Tru North. Tru North Cafe.
Tru North Cafe, and I have been enamored by your story ever since you moved to Livingston. You're from Los Angeles, California. You've had a full life in Los Angeles, and I met you real quick, just a history of how you and I know each other, by a mutual friend, Mark Tarbox in LA, and we met at a game night a few years ago, and I was like, he made me laugh. So funny, and I was like, who is this guy? So funny, and we exchanged, obviously, we hooked up on Facebook, and just, obviously kept it, hey, how you doing, for a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
And so...
And I have to interrupt, I loved your feistiness. I loved your spirit, your feistiness. You were funny. You liked my jokes, so I loved you. It was all good. It was magic.
It is, it's a connection, real connection. So over, again, how Facebook works, it's amazing how we create and cultivate relationships without even knowing, right? And so I've been watching you, and come to find out that you were in Hollywood. You were a director and cinematographer and producer. How long were you doing that?
My whole life. I've actually been a writer, director, producer for about 20 years.
Okay.
And I've written 3 books, published 3 books, and I've been in media most of my life in branding. Never worked in a restaurant in my life, and taught at the LA Film School for 5 years.
Professor?
Professor at the LA Film School for 5 years, and really loved, that was brand new, and that was a crazy story, and really took to that. I love helping young people find their purpose, and then when you find your purpose, happiness is a natural result, right? If you do what you love, then you love what you do, and you get paid to do what you love.
Yes.
So it's amazing. So it was great to be able to share my skills with the next generation of filmmakers. I was kind of known as the comedian professor because I taught with stand-up comedy energy 9 hours a day. And to keep pot smokers interested for 9 hours, you have to
keep them engaged.
So I had a little bit of unorthodox techniques, but loved every minute of that. So yeah, that was kind of and I was living in the heart of Hollywood with a beautiful view from the 9th floor of the Hollywood Hills. And one day I just woke up in the middle of COVID and I thought, shit's getting real fast. I witnessed an armed robbery at a spa. I was getting a massage. And when I got off the table, there was a car that drove up and there was a gun, and they took paper toweling and sped off. And I thought, you know what, this probably isn't the optimum place to be in the middle of a global pandemic.
This is really beginning in March or February?
Beginning of March.
Yes.
Before there was a lockdown, before things, I think Trump was saying that there's nothing that's going to happen, it's all cool. And but I felt this sense like something was going to go down and it was going to get intense. And so just to back up really quickly, and you can edit this if you want, but 5 months before that, I'm spiritual, not religious. I said to God, you know what, God? I'm ready to go wherever you want me to go and do whatever you want me to do. And I shared that with my mom, and she said, that's a damn dangerous thing to say to God. And now I'm in Livingston, Montana, and I didn't even know where this was.
You didn't even know where Livingston, Montana was?
I didn't know Montana was on the border of Canada, or I would never have come.
I know about Montana because my parents took us to Yellowstone years ago when we were kids. I know about Montana because I know about Bozeman. I've always wanted to go to Bozeman, and just to hang out and see the town. Knew nothing about Livingston as well.
No.
Nothing.
The craziest thing was, I had a friend in Paradise Valley where John Mayer lives, and just dropping some names. And it's beautiful. I'd seen some pictures, and that's all that I knew. And so I texted her and I said, hey baby, you got any room for an LA boy and a pit bull for a few weeks? A few weeks. And she's like, oh, I guess you saw my post on Facebook yesterday asking for anyone who wants to come up here and help me while I'm up here and shelter in place. And I said, I did not see that. I just felt the prompting to reach out to you. And she's like, you need to get up here now. When are you coming? And I said, next week. She's like, if you don't leave by tomorrow, you are not going to get out of California. And she put a fire under me, and I was like, dude, I just thought of this 15 seconds ago, and now you're telling me to pack my car. She's like, yeah, if you don't pack your car, you're not going to get out. I packed frantically, and I packed weird stuff, like passports and my favorite watch and all my camera gear, and was out of town by 4 o'clock the next day in the rain and rush hour, which you never do in LA.
Right.
And I felt like I was fleeing Egypt, and my dog's like, what's going on? Where are we going? And I just plugged in.
You were the next Moses?
So I plugged it into GPS, and I had no idea. Like, I just followed the prompts, and all of a sudden, midway trip, I was like, I only have shorts. I bet I need pants. So I stopped at Ross, bought 4 pair of pants because I wanted to be prepared. Got here, it was 16 degrees and snowing. I'm like, what the hell have I just done? Nala, my pit bull, steps out of the car. She had never known snow before. She's a Kardashian, apparently. Her foot hit the snow, and she went, hell no.
I will not go.
I will not go.
I will not go.
And so basically she hates it here. And we camped out in an airstream on the side of a mountain for 2 weeks, surrounded by elk and deer and bison. And that's how it all started.
Now, was your goal to help your friend
No.
do any type of work on the acres? Because it's pretty vast. We went to go visit today. Very vast land. What does she need help with, though?
I didn't even know till today that she had advertised for a property manager. I didn't see the post. I just was getting away from LA.
Just wanted to get away from LA during the pandemic. Right.
And 2 weeks in a freezing airstream, all my dreams about camper life ended. I was like, hell no. And so I got a loft in Livingston for a month. And while I was in Livingston, just hanging out, bored because everything was locked down, I realized that my friend who I was visiting, her dad had this cafe that wasn't doing very well and had been shuttered for the pandemic. And I said, hey, do you mind if I go just mess around in the cafe a little bit and see if I can bring it to life? And they're allowing takeout right now, so I could do coffee and takeout sandwiches, and it'll keep me busy because I don't like to just sit around.
Before we move on that, you know, people in LA, since we can't really travel, a lot of people don't want to travel. The world is such a standstill in terms of how other cultures are living. It's a global pandemic, you guys. Global means everybody's affected. It's not just California, it's not just New York, it's just not Florida. Everybody has been affected by COVID-19. Livingston is no different. So this town of only 10,000 people has been affected horribly as well. And these businesses, very small businesses, thrive on everyone's using, using their businesses.
And this town's a big tourist town. Like, it lives by the summer tourist trade. We're right at the mouth of Yellowstone.
Yes.
So this summer is like lifeblood. So I think 5 cafes closed while I was here.
Wow.
Just closed the doors and said, I can't do it anymore. One fine dining restaurant down the street is about ready to close the doors because they can't make the numbers work. So to get a cafe in the middle of a pandemic is the craziest thing you could ever do. So
you're documenting this on Facebook, saying I'm here, and I'm like watching, like, what's he doing going to Livingston during the pandemic? But again, I'm like, why not? Because he's escaping. I don't want to use the word running away, but if I had the means, I can't because I have responsibilities, I would probably escape too to somewhere to where I'm not breathing Los Angeles air. But the reason why I admire your story, because in my opinion, it's very brave. You called your friend on a whim, and you didn't know you were going to start being a business owner. You had no idea.
And I had no idea I was leaving LA for good.
Right.
If it weren't for dear Adam, who's running the camera right now, it wouldn't have worked, because while I was here, I got so knee deep in the cafe, and all of a sudden, this is the swear to God truth, I accidentally remodeled and painted without asking the owner, completely. Like, it was brown walls and lime green and lime green pillars and baby poop walls and mustard over here, and no offense to the people who designed it, but it was not appealing to the community here. They hadn't really reached out and said, what do you want? And there had been a beloved cafe here prior that everybody loved, Chad. and they didn't love the next cafe. So I thought maybe I could try to rebrand it and see if there's any traction. And the minute I painted, the next day, like we worked 15 hours one Sunday. I was exhausted from the week of working the cafe. And we opened the doors and we were slammed. We were slammed from the beginning of the day till the end of the day. I made more money that day than the cafe had ever made in its history in a day.
And this is because, and it's still takeout at this time as well?
No, we were then able to open the doors and let people in.
Oh, because they can now come here and sit down.
Sit down.
Okay.
This was in April, late April.
Late April,
Late
where
April,
they had a little bit of
beginning
ease of the restriction?
They eased up the restrictions. And we didn't really have, Montana only had 450 cases of COVID, and we have 1 million people, so.
Makes sense.
Makes sense, but we still were the lowest in the country. And then, all of a sudden, people just started flocking here, and they were like, we love it. We had no signage, nobody knew that anything had changed. They just felt drawn. And I then called the owner, and I said, wow, we're having some great success here. And I still was afraid to tell him I completely remodeled and painted. And he's like, I think you should own this cafe. And you know what? I thought I should own this cafe. And then he said, how much do you want to give me for it? And I was so unprepared. I hadn't had my coffee yet. And I just had this vague number, and it was like 1/8 of what he paid for it.
Wow.
And I said, I don't want to be insulting. We're in the middle of a pandemic. 5 restaurants have just closed. This is a crazy idea to take a
Crazy
cafe.
investment.
Crazy time to do this. I'll offer you X amount of dollars. And I said, I hope you're not insulted. He said, it's not insulting, it's low. I'll give it some thought. Then I called my mom, and by the way, I'm not a mama's boy. My mom and I are just developing a new friendship. But I said, Mom, I'm gonna know this is meant to be if I get it for less than my offer.
Oh.
She goes, how does that work? I said, I have no idea, but that's what I told God that I wanted as a sign. 5 days later, he wrote me a letter, and he offered the cafe for double what I offered. And I wrote, hey man, I'm gonna walk from this. I'm happy to help you find an owner. I can't do it for that money. I wish I had actually offered you $5,000 less. He said, I'll take it. It was less than my original offer.
Then why did he offer you double?
I don't know, and none of it makes sense.
Makes no sense.
But when I said I was gonna leave, and I wish I would have offered you less, he took my lower offer.
Wow.
That was the sign.
Sorry about the refrigerators. There's the refrigerators in the back.
We're running a restaurant here.
We're running a restaurant.
Unfortunately.
What I also want to mention is you are a gay man living in Livingston, Montana. Not a lot of gays here in Livingston, but
I'm
if
the
you're
only gay in the village.
No, you're not.
I'm not.
But actually, I was going to stay at a bed and breakfast, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to stay there because they had some technical issues at the.
Let's just call it $20,000 in water damage.
Yikes! And so I had to stay at another hotel, the Murray Hotel, which is actually quite fantastic. But the bed and breakfast is also owned by a gay couple, and so this is let's be honest, this is a very Republican state.
It is Trump supported.
It is Trump supported here.
Let me tell you something. Every day, someone will introduce himself and reach out to shake my hand, and I know it's a test.
Oh.
Are you a Trump supporter or not?
Because you want to shake their hand?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I shake my hand. I shake everyone's hand, but again, pre-COVID, and I'm not a Trump supporter.
No. Post-COVID, if you're not supposed to shake hands.
Oh, I
Trump
see what you're
supporters
saying.
Test me every day by, hi, I'm John.
Oh.
And I think about it for a minute, and I pray about it, and then I'm like, I'm James, and I can sanitize.
And you can wash your hands.
Right.
It's called washing hands and sanitizing.
It is. It's
right?
It's all good.
Yeah. So have you had me back last year? I see a big old heart, rainbow heart in your window. You know, obviously signifying we have pride here in the business. It's gay friendly business.
It's what we're.
Have you had any backlash?
None at all. In fact, I've proudly displayed my book. It used to be called God Hates, wait for it, and Other Bedtime Bible Stories.
What was the name of the book again, please?
God Hates and Other Bedtime Bible Stories.
But you changed the title.
Well, the publisher did. They panicked. The book has a foreskin instead of a forward. It's kind of outrageous, but it's all about God's love for his kids. Okay. All his kids.
Okay.
And the new title is Gay Conversations with God, Straight Talk on Fanatics, God who loves us all.
You still use the F word?
I did because it's powerful and I wanted to take back the power.
Ugh.
So,
I will never use the N-word, sorry.
That's great.
I'm never using
That's great.
that.
Anyway, the bottom line is, the book is on display. I've had unlikely people buy it. I've had pastors in here. I've had everybody from every walk of life in here, and we're trying to say, this is a place of love. This is a place of community. You can be whoever you are, and you're accepted, and you're welcome.
Okay,
So
very
that's the
good.
goal.
Well, when I came here yesterday, I came here and I just saw this beautiful, gorgeous establishment of this dark blue, this manly leather wood, and I'll take pictures. You guys will see what it looks like inside here. But it's very, it looks like someone's living room, and it's very comfortable here. Let's talk about you again. You've never had restaurant experiences. Let's talk about the food and why have you made this certain type of food for the cafe?
Yeah, well, I feel like we are making simple food for complicated times. I don't think we've ever lived in such complicated times as we do right now.
I don't think so either.
We've got racial situations that are explosive. I mean, I was actually thanking God to be out of LA for the COVID stuff, and then the Grove right across the street from me was completely looted. The Apple store smashed, Nordstrom smashed. There was just so much violence and unrest, and I feel like we're just in a time and space where everything in the pot is being stirred. And I wanted to create a place, that's why we're called Tru North, helping people find their true north in a crazy time. Your true north is where you're supposed to be and who you are. And we want our food to reflect that. So we're just doing really simple, amazing, delicious foods that bring people to comfort. We're not trying to be tricky or fancy. We're doing like a beautiful fat meatloaf sandwich that's charred in brown butter, crispy on both sides, placed on buttery Texas toast with some spicy slaw on top of that for some crunch and some flavor. We're doing beautiful grilled mountain pound cake where I make these pound cakes. I just made this up one day. I put fresh raspberries and blueberries into a pound cake, bake it, and then, you know, you can't make much for a slice of pound cake, so I got all tricky, and I take a slice of pound cake and I grill that in brown butter, caramelize both sides, lay that on a pillow of whipping cream, put a band of warm blueberry compote across that, and then sprinkle powdered sugar and a spray of maple syrup on that. By the way, everything has maple syrup here because
we love maple syrup, honey. We love it.
Butter and maple syrup is like the crack of the food world. First one's free.
First one's free. You also have a signature breakfast sandwich that people come here in the morning just to get. What is that signature? And tell the people, tell the broads, what you named the ingredients, because it's hysterical.
Oh yeah, so the True Jam Sammy is our signature breakfast sandwich. When my chef, Miss Love, made this sandwich, she's like, would you taste this? And I took a bite, and it was so good I threw it on the ground and kissed her hard on the lips. It was that good, and I'm gay, so everything changed. Questioned all my life decisions. But that's how good this sandwich is. You might turn a gay man straight. So anyway. We have conversion therapy, but baby, it's all with food. Well, we just got out of the kitchen. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen.
That's right.
It got pretty hot in there.
It sure did.
Because I was trying to convert her to gay with my cake, which didn't work.
Now I'm still straight. I loved Big D.
Damn it.
Sorry.
All right, well, we'll make a cocktail and see where that goes.
And I already finished my cocktail. It's back there in the kitchen already.
I got out of the apron. It was just too hot.
They can see your sexy legs.
Woo!
Sexy, sexy thighs. You know what? You mentioned the meaning of Tru North Cafe, and I want to bring it back to that because in this podcast, we always want to talk about meanings and messages and visions because everything revolves around how we direct our lives. And I'm turning the podcast in more of a community-driven, it's more spiritual. I'm saying spiritual, but just something. It's not about travel, food, beauty, and culture.
There's more there.
There's more. There's substance. Mm-hmm. So, going back to your meaning of Tru North Cafe, what can you tell the broads, our listeners, our followers, people who are watching this podcast, your true calling to what this journey has brought you?
I had the privilege of traveling the world with a lot of different networks, interviewing young people all over the pubs in Prague, under the stairs of Sacré-Cœur, on the moonlit beaches of Mumbai, all over the planet, Hong Kong. And I would ask young people, what is your dream? I asked that to probably 5,000 young people all over the planet. And I would say 90% of them would answer, to be happy. And if I had a game show buzzer, I would be like, wrong answer. And they would get all like, whoa, wait, what? I'm like, you can't have your dream to be happy. That's pursuing the wind. That's like chasing the wind. Happiness changes from moment to moment. But if you pursue your purpose, what you were created to do, happiness is a natural result. There aren't many tennis players anymore, but when you hit the sweet spot of the tennis racket, the racket fucking rings, because that's what the racket was made to do. And the ball whizzes over the net and aces the opponent because everything worked together in that purpose. And I taught my students, when you pursue your purpose, and if you want to know what your purpose is, you just have to reverse engineer. What makes you happy? That's your purpose. Because the Creator, God, however you want to look at that, wired us in advance with our purpose. And your goal is to find out what makes me happy, what makes my heart race, what makes my heart beat. And when you do your purpose, all the universe conspires to help you so that you can fulfill that which you were placed on this earth. And finding your true north is finding your purpose. We live in complicated, crazy, mixed up, upside down times. And we felt like if we could just create a little spot of safety, a little spot of community, a little spot where you can walk in the doors and feel loved and safe and welcome, then we can help guide you to your purpose, your truth.
Wow. That's where that comes for the jammies, the sandwiches, right?
That's from the jam, the true jam sandwiches. We'll make you straight one way or another. So yeah.
That was amazing. That was beautiful. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. It's a pleasure.
So going back, what is your true north? What is James's true north? Then at this time, Tru North Cafe is your true north?
I don't think it's about a cafe. I don't think it's about food. I don't think it's about coffee. Although all of those things have been passions of mine, although I have no real knowledge or background in it, I've always played with it. I love it. I fantasized about owning a cafe as a kid. But my true north is really creating, I feel like I was put on this earth to be a bridge to impossible shores. And when I say that, I'm a gay man who loves Jesus. And those worlds never usually meet. You know, I've been beaten up by a lot of Bible-wielding Christians, but through it all, I love the message of Jesus, which is love and give and serve to the very last drop. And so, wow. I've seen so many people come in these doors and they're lost, they're a little confused, they're a little shaken by their lives, their circumstances, their problems. And you get to be a therapist behind that bar, and all this is fucking card tricks. The cake is a card trick. It's a way to get them in the door so that I can feel their heart. The coffee's a card trick. And that's my true north.
Oh, thank you, James. Oh, you're gonna make me cry.
Sorry, I'm just a big dope, and I'm gay, so you have to cry about it at least 3 times a day.
I implore you all. You know, I know most of you are scared to travel. I was scared to travel. But if you get a chance to visit Montana, I've only been here for a couple of days. It's an amazing state. It's actually
stunning.
It is beyond stunning. The pictures I took, and you'll see those, it looks fake. The scenery looks absolutely like someone painted it. It looks like a backdrop in Hollywood. People here are super nice. And yes, it's, you know, it's Republican, it's white, it's not a lot of diversity here, but it's growing. The communities are growing here. And don't let that stop you in terms of saying, I can't be there because I'm this and I'm that.
No.
Don't let that stop you. It didn't stop me. So
I interrupt you just to say, one morning after I committed to this cafe and I'm committed to Livingston, I've never endured a winter yet, so this may all change. I woke up one Sunday morning exhausted from a very long week. I've never worked so hard for so little money. And I opened my email, Thrillist. We all know Thrillist.
Yeah.
The email that tells you what hot things are all over. I think they're based in LA. And the first story that morning was hottest little Montana town that draws hipsters, artists, and cowboys and cool kids. Livingston, Montana.
No way.
A full article. And I kept rubbing my eyes going, am I imagining this? This town is amazing. I've had this couple, they're in their 70s, late 70s, come in and just fall in love. They've adopted me. They bought me my first outdoor bistro set. I've had people bring in gluten-free, 5-gallon gluten-free flour to make pancakes. I've had more generosity, more love, more support in this town. And I'm not a Trump supporter, I'm not Republican, and I'm gay. And they don't care. They may be all those things, but they love and they want community, and they're so open-hearted. This place is amazing. Don't move here, because we're building a wall against everyone. But my main point in all of
Very welcoming. Very welcoming.
Livingston's
town here.
great, but the message that I'd like to leave you with, because I know not everybody is going to quit their job and move to Livingston or some other weird, obscure place and open a cafe.
Right.
My message is this. When the world delivers a global pandemic or an earthquake or whatever, or a Trump that disrupts everything, you have to be able to pivot. And if
Oh my God, I've learned about that word so much in the last 3 months. It's
Really?
insane. In our meetings, the books that I've been reading, word is pivot. I actually literally should tattoo it on my arm. Pivot has been the word.
Pivot.
Yeah.
And pivot is basically this. If you try, you're going in one direction and something comes at you in basketball, which I know nothing about, I'm gay, remember, you pivot to move a different direction.
Yeah.
Because there's a block here. There's a wall here. There's an obstacle here. So you pivot. If you keep going, you're going to break your head into that obstacle.
So true.
But if you pivot, you have a new direction, you have new life and new opportunities. My message, if anything today, is pivot. If you're trying to hold on to your life and you're like, this COVID thing, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing no matter what, you'll white knuckle yourself to death.
Yeah.
You'll run into obstacle after obstacle.
Yeah.
And you know what? It probably or may not work. But if you say, all right, this big thing I'm encountering it right now, I'm going to pivot. And what is the new thing that I can embrace? I don't have to white knuckle the old thing. I'm opening my hands to the new thing. And that new thing, for me, is a cafe, a community. I've made more friends in 4 months than I've made in 5 years in LA.
Wow.
I felt more love in this place than I've ever felt in my life. I feel belonging in a place that I've never been to, and it's because I just did the little pivot.
Wow. That's a life lesson. So that I can take definitely to heart.
All of us.
It was a pivot for me to get on this plane
Yes.
and come to a place I've never been. I called James literally 3 weeks ago and said, I'm coming to Livingston to see you, to see what Tru North Cafe is all about, to see why this is so magical for you, and I'm here. A lot of people can't do this, and I appreciate that, I understand that, but if you can pivot your life, you can do anything.
Anything's possible. And don't look at the obstacles, look at the possibilities. And a whole new world can open.
James, this conversation completely turned. We were talking about sandwiches and gay men and
And often
COVID, and all of a
gay
sudden,
sandwiches.
all of a sudden we're having life lessons here, and we should have had a prayer circle here. But I want to say thank you so much for allowing me to be in your space.
Thank
This
you.
gorgeous cafe. You guys are going to see the pictures of this gorgeous cafe. Adam in the background here is our producer, our director. Thank you, Adam.
Thank
We
you,
appreciate
Adam.
your help in all this as well. And we want to say to all the broads, thank you again for tuning in.
And thank you for coming to Livingston, Montana.
I appreciate it.
I'm
You're
changing the name, by the way, to Lovingston, because we put the love in Livingston.
welcome. And as always, thank you for listening to Abroad.